Blanca Garcia. She focuses on mothers. She's a dietitian by trade, by education, but she focuses on, like I said, on moms. All too often, the moms are neglected, especially after a newborn. The focus is on the child and, how is the mother recovering? She currently lives in the Netherlands, but she's from Los Angeles, and she shares a story about how she had her firstborn in Los Angeles, and she was sent home the day after, like we all are here in the States. And she shouldn't have been. Her blood pressure was improper. She monitored herself. She later had to get admitted again. But just nutrition, dealing with the mothers. And her second child there in the Netherlands, you'll be shocked as to how and what they do with new mothers. I don't want to tell you now. Just listen, and you will be shocked as to what Netherlands does. It's absolutely amazing. We should do it here in the U.S. If we can't make it public part of the insurance, we should privatize it, whatever it takes. But this is absolutely necessary. But focusing on mothers, especially with nutrition, developing patterns, is her focus. Blanca Garcia, absolute pleasure. Enjoy the conversation. I know you will. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission: how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. I enjoyed learning about you, Blanca
Oh,
Garcia.
okay.
So, do we as a society, let's just talk about, here in the US, do we pay enough attention to mothers?
I don't think so. I don't
Why?
think so. And that is the reason why I decided to kind of focus on moms. I have been a dietitian since 2013, and I had a variety of clients, and my main clientele were children. Actually,
Hmm.
I still work in the Head Start programs, the early Head Start programs. Which are like preschools. And so that's where I kind of got an idea or a sense that moms were not really taken into consideration as much, or they were always left, I want to say like last,
Hmm.
and so I that's where I started kind of got the idea that maybe I can focus on moms instead. But yeah, I don't think that the US take moms um, as seriously as they should in so many
It's
ways.
interesting. So, let's get to the ways in the moment. But is it just neglect? Is it sexism? Is it the focus is on the child now and the mother's second? Is it why do you think it is?
I think it's all of it, but I think it's also society has um, kind of pushed us aside.
Hmm.
People don't realize that women are just not women. We do a lot.
Hmm.
We not only do we take care of our families, the household, the husbands, the children,
Hmm.
everything that needs to get taken care of, and then the last person is a mom. And so I think it's just society. We've just gotten accustomed to just it not really. Well, she can handle it. She can handle it, and she can handle it, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So yeah, I just think it's all of it. The sexism, it's the yeah, that the children are, I mean, the children are important. You know, they
Right.
depend on the mother. But then if the mother isn't around, then who's going to take care of the child? You know, if the mother isn't healthy, who's going to take
Right.
care of that child? Of course, the fathers can, and other people can, but there's nothing like the mom. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know when there's a newborn, everybody's very excited. They come visit the newborn, they hold the baby, and maybe there's one question. Well, how's mom? Okay, let's go back to the baby now. And it's not a lot of focus there. How was delivery? I know mothers who had emergency cesarean section. I mean, that's serious operation that occurred there, and they need days to recover, but they're expected to kind of, you know, the baby's fine, you must be fine. It's something we really need to change their outlook on, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And let me tell you, actually, I have two children, and one was born in the U.S. and the other one was born here in the Netherlands because I live in the
Ah,
Netherlands.
oh,
As
wow.
of 2 years ago, I actually moved here, and then 2 weeks later, the pandemic shut everything down. So,
Wow.
yeah, so it was actually a very interesting experience, I want to say, because with my with my first child, I was basically sent home, and that was that. That was the end of that.
In
I was
Los
sent home
Angeles.
in Los Angeles. Yes, in Los Angeles, I was sent home after the day after I gave birth. I had a regular regular birth, um, but something was wrong, and because I'm a health professional, I have experience. I've worked in the hospital to know that something was wrong, so I kept track of my blood pressure, and a week later, I got readmitted to the hospital. And
Wow.
so I was hospitalized for the weekend, and my child was with me, my infant was with me, my husband was there too. And then fast forward, 2 years later, I had another baby, and my second baby, I had him in the Netherlands. And it was strange because I was sent home the next day, but then guess what? Guess what? I know this is really strange for the Americans. We get what's called a kramzorg, and a kramzorg comes and visits you every day for a week, and she
Wow.
comes from 8 in the morning until about 5 p.m. and she takes care of everything. She's a nurse. She makes sure that I was in bed, that I took naps. She measured me, measured my blood pressure. She checked me every single day. She measured my baby. She made sure she gave me advice
Hmm.
on breastfeeding. We got a list of things that we needed to buy. My husband didn't buy them all, so she sent them out to go buy them. And she also sent out my husband with my toddler so I can have some quiet time. So I
Mm.
mean, I go from being sent home, and my husband was my kramzor the first time around, and then
Wow.
the second time around, I have a person, a professional person, come to my house for a week and completely take care of me. And so after this experience, I really truly started to see, at least in the US, how we are not as important. I feel we're not as important as we should be,
Mm.
especially in the healthcare system.
Wow. I want to go back to that in a moment. So when you were in Los Angeles, you felt that you shouldn't have stayed there. You shouldn't have been sent home after a day. You felt you needed more care.
Yeah, I don't think I should have gone home. What I developed was postpartum preeclampsia, which is actually
Hmm.
rare. Usually, most women have preeclampsia before they give birth, and it resolves
Hmm.
after they give birth. But I had the opposite. I had it after I gave birth, and not every person can identify it. And if you don't get treated, you can have a stroke and you can die. So those are the
Wow.
things that that's what happens. And so yeah, I don't think I should have been sent home. I think I should have been taken care of a little bit more.
I remember when we had our first, and it was the next day, and I remember they were sending us home, and all I was thinking was, are these people crazy sending us home with this little baby? I don't know what to do with this thing. So I was just the mental, the mental part of it, and of course my wife is there, and she's just delivered. I mean, what she went through and where she is. So I guess just the not only the physical but the mental. It's like, this is our firstborn. What I'm driving like 20 or 30 miles on the highway an hour where I shouldn't be, and calling everybody crazy out of the window. I mean, I don't know what to don't know what to do. And can you imagine if we had somebody show up at the house every day afterwards? I mean, that would be incredible. What
Yeah,
an incredible idea. Why don't we do that in the US?
I
Money. It
don't
always comes down to
understand.
money.
I don't know. I don't understand because, I thought it was the greatest thing for us as a family. The funny
Wow.
thing is normally, um, pre-COVID, the Klamsorg would come, and she was in charge of making the coffee and having the cookies ready for the guests that would come and visit the mom
Wow.
and the baby. And sometimes actually our Klamsorg was nice enough, and she made us lunch and dinner a few times, once or twice. But my husband, my husband finds it really strange. So he's like, no, 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 don't worry about it. I'll make something. But she was really, really good. She really took care of me. She would tell me, why are you in the couch? Go to your room, go to sleep. So I
Oh,
was being sent to go to sleep, which is amazing. Now that in hindsight, I don't even know how my husband and I managed with our first child.
right. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just don't know. You lose sleep. Now, I assume that the clamsor is paid by the state.
Yes, yes. It's paid by everyone pays taxes here,
Right.
and high taxes, and so that pays
Yes.
for that service. And so, as far as I know, if a mother has multiple babies, so like twins or triplets, then they get an extension, um,
Wow.
and more than a week. But yeah, it's paid by the government, and everybody gets one.
Do you tip him or her?
No. No, but
Yeah.
I felt weird not tipping or doing something like that. So my husband arranged for a nice little gift basket so she could go home with one, just as a thank you. We were so grateful
Of
because we
course.
know what it was like to be on our own. And like you said, when you were going home with your baby in your car, you're just extremely stressed. Like, okay, I'm going
Yes.
home with this fragile little being, and everyone's in the way.
It's terrifying. It is
Yeah.
terrifying. And she stayed, I assume it was a woman. She stayed for how long again?
A week. So like it was like
Wow.
a Monday through Friday. I'm not quite sure because it's all a little bit blurry, but I think it was
Wow.
I gave birth, and yeah, she came like a Monday through Friday or something like that. But and she came 8 in the morning, or 8 or 8:30 until 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock.
I just had a radical idea. I mean, how about Clemsor as a service where, here in the US, we just offer this kind of service privately. If the insurance companies aren't going to do it, maybe they get subsidized and to people who need it. I mean, I've never heard of such a thing. It sounds wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, actually, that's a really good idea. We should mount one together.
Yes. Yes. That's very interesting. And did you know she was coming?
Yes, yes. A few years ago, I had planned to move to the Netherlands. I wanted to pay off my student loans, which is, another issue in our country.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
managed to pay off all my student loans, and we moved to the Netherlands. And in that process, I met a few of my husband's friends, and I would ask them like, so like, what is this kramzorg? I don't understand. Like, I couldn't wrap my mind around the idea, and they're like, oh, I don't know. They would tell me, I don't know what I would do without her. Like, one
Wow.
of them, if two or three, I heard that they cried when she left. you know because
Wow.
you become so dependent on this person because you're just so vulnerable as a woman, and you
Right.
can finally rest, and you don't feel that guilt that, oh, I have to be up and be with my baby. Um, so yeah, I couldn't wrap my mind around the idea, but by the time that I got here and I had my baby, I knew she was coming, and I was actually really excited because
Wow.
it was like a culture shock to me. But I
Amazing how
agree with
different
you
that
that
is.
privately, if somebody could come up with the idea of having a service where you can pay someone to come to your home for a week and just take care of you. I mean, she didn't just take care of me, she took care of my son. She weighed him
Right.
every day, and
Really?
I'm sure, I don't know if you remember, but the first week after you have your baby, you have to go back a few days later to see if they lost any weight,
Oh
like a certain
yeah.
percentage, I believe like a
Yeah.
7%. If they lose more than 7%, then they have to either start giving them more formula, or trying to
Hmm.
figure out why they're losing weight. Well, she did all of that in the house. She came with a scale, and she
Wow.
weighed him, and he did indeed lose the 7%. And so we were kind of like brainstorming on pumping some breast milk and giving him some formula and trying to figure out how to help him gain that weight. So that was really helpful. I mean, it really sets your mind at ease.
Very interesting. So you started as a dietitian with, you said, Head Start with her with children.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. I started with children.
And so you moved to mothers now because you feel there's more of a need.
Yeah, well, when I was working with the children, I realized that what was happening was, as I was talking, I work with the children, but really the person I'm talking to is the mom. I'm not talking with the child because the age range was between newborn and 5 years old.
I
And
see.
so the person I was having the conversations with was with the mom. And over the
Mm,
years, I just had my first baby in 2018. So the first few years, I want to say I was like a little bit. I know I had like the theory of being a dietitian and giving nutrition advice, but I didn't know what it was like to be a parent. And so I was giving the
hmm.
generic advice that I give that we are taught, but it wasn't until I became a mom that I really truly understood what was going on, in the dynamic of a household. Um, and when I would talk to these moms, and they would tell me these stories, it's like, yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. I know why your child is picky, and I know why your child is. I know what's going on. So I started to really truly understand what is going on in a mom's life, and in the dynamic of a family and why things happen the way that they do. So when I came here to the Netherlands, that's when I started deciding to, okay, who am I going to focus on? Because I'm not working. Actually, I was coming to the Netherlands and I wasn't going to be working. I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, and
Mm.
then the pandemic happened, and remote
Right.
work opportunities started opening up. So I started working back in Head Start, um, just to help out, and then eventually I ended up kind of getting creative, and so that's how I started working with moms and started to do things for moms.
Very interesting. And when you were taught certain things as a dietitian, and when you use those, those theories, those ideas, those lessons in implementation in real life with the mothers, did you find some contradiction? Did you find some things that I learned this, but I think this is a better way of doing it?
Yes, yes, I definitely did. Specifically with behavior issues.
Hmm.
The majority of the children that I helped were children who were either underweight or overweight,
Hmm.
and when the conversation would start, it was always with, I'm always fighting with my child at the dinner table. He's not eating. He just wants chicken nuggets. He just wants French fries. I'm having to keep the chicken nugget box, and then make my own chicken nuggets and put it in the McDonald's box so I can give it
Wow.
to my child so they could think that it's the real chicken nuggets, but they're healthier versions. And so I think that we were taught an idea of, well, you have to be a certain way with children, but it doesn't work that way every single time, because a
Hmm.
child changes over time. And so you have to change your techniques. Our main, I guess you could say, the main thing I would say is, oh, if your child is a picky eater, you have to be more, how do you say, more you have to be more we have to have more discipline with them.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it doesn't always work like that. I mean, yes, you have to have certain things need to be disciplined. For example, you must provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the same times. That is a
Ah.
must, because that creates a pattern for a child, right?
Hmm.
But when they're sitting at the table, their job is to choose what they want to eat, or if they even want to eat at all.
Hmm.
um, and so that is kind of what I'm practicing right now, is kind of helping moms figure out how to figure out where the child is at the moment. But I used to do this blanket advice where, you have to be very disciplined with your child, and if your child doesn't eat, then they can go to bed without food. you know and
Hmm.
and yes and no, but it's really hard because if you have other family members in the home, let's say you have grandma, and you say no to your child, and your child, I mean, sorry, not to say no, but like if you tell your child, okay, you didn't eat what you were supposed to eat, so I'm not going to cook anything else, you can go to bed. That might work if it's just you and your husband, or you're by yourself. But if you have grandma, and grandma comes over and gives them candy or fruit or
Hmm.
yogurt or something else, with that nice behavior of grandma, she just took away your authority.
That's
And
right.
so it's really hard to implement something like that because the dynamic of families are very different. And so um, that
Hmm.
advice doesn't always fit. And so after I had children, I was able to realize that I have to really look at the dynamics of the family. Who lives in the house? Who's on board? Who's not on board? If the dad doesn't want things to go a certain way, and the mom wants things to go a certain way, it's not going to happen. The child is going to
Mm.
figure out that there is a battle going on between the parents, and he's going to know how to use that to his advantage. And so,
Right.
and it's not a malicious thing from a child. It's just the way that they figure things out. I mean, that's how they learn. And so I don't do blanket advice anymore. I really dive deep into, okay, what's going on at home, who's there, who's the one that spoils, and what do they do. um so yeah, so things, I think things definitely have changed after I had children. um the dynamics, I think, are very important in a family.
Yeah, I knew when my parents were fighting, and I would play off them and get try to get what I want and take a side of who was on my side. Yeah, that's we all just kind of learn that. So in the US, we have a serious, serious issue with obesity and overweight. We're up to about 75% now in those classes. And does it start with the youth? Does it start with the five and under?
Yes, yes, because um, that's where you pick up your habits. I
Mm,
always tell people this story, and it's a little bit embarrassing, but it's the truth. When I was in Los Angeles and I used to go to my different jobs as a consultant, I used to know exactly where each McDonald was, and I would drive around it because I enjoyed McDonald's growing up, and so as an adult, I needed to control that desire to want to eat it, and so the only way that I could do it was to just drive around it, so I wouldn't drive into
wow.
the driveway. Um,
Hmm.
so it starts from a young age. The habits that you learn when you're a child, they stay with you, and if you don't have that discipline to not consume the foods that maybe you're not supposed to be consuming, then is when you continue to go into that path where you continue to do the unhealthy habits over and over and over, and then you start developing chronic conditions. And so that's why I really liked working with children, because I thought, well, maybe if I can prevent it from getting there, I could
Hmm.
actually make a difference. But then I realized that yes, I prevent, at the early age, but the person that promotes everything, the person that provides the food, the person that makes the patterns is the mom. So if the
Hmm.
mom doesn't know that something is unhealthy, if the mom doesn't know that it's important to have meal patterns, then everyone in the household is not going to be in a meal pattern. Everyone in the household is going to have unhealthy habits. So then I started to learn that the person that I need to teach to help and the next generation is the mom. Is the mom.
Interesting. And it'll start there.
Mhm.
There's so many. I've always heard the complaint that healthy options are there's higher obstacles to get to them, whereas high caloric, high fat food is all over the place. It's very inexpensive. Like you said, McDonald's everywhere. You know, is that a real argument? And by the way, is that how it is there in the Netherlands?
Well, to answer your first question, I don't think it's a valid argument. I
Good.
believe that fruits and vegetables are very accessible.
Hmm.
I think the issue more is the time. Most people, let's say, who don't have the resources who say they don't have the resources to buy the fruits and vegetables, what they lack is more actually the resource of time, because
Hmm.
most of the people who don't have the resources have to work two jobs or three
Hmm.
jobs, and by the time that they get home they're so tired, they don't want to go and stand another 30 minutes to cook a meal. They just want to drive
Right.
through the drive through, get all the food that everybody needs, everybody eats in the car, they go home, they go through the bedtime routine, and everyone's back to bed, and then the next day
Wow.
it's another early morning. um, so I think it's not the resource of income, but it's more the resource of time. People don't
Hmm.
realize that time is very valuable, and if you don't have it, it can affect your life. So I don't think that fruits and vegetables really are expensive. I just think that you need to learn how to buy. So if you buy within season, of course it's going to be much less expensive. If you buy blueberries out of season, for example, they're going to be $5 a container. But if you
Right.
buy them in season, they're going to be 99 cents.
That's right.
So, and that's just a blueberry, example, but you can
Mm,
actually have that example across the board. But like the other thing is, if you don't have the knowledge of what's in season and what's not in season, then you're going to think, oh, that's really expensive. But are you buying the item that you should be buying for what's in season? So, for
mm,
example, if I know that something is in season, I'm going to cook around that food. So I don't have to buy the most expensive item that's not in season. Um, so yeah, so
mm,
I think that's really not a valid argument. I think that the problem is the resource of time and the exhaustion that parents have when they have to work two jobs or three jobs. I think that's because I did work with a lot of lower income families, and they didn't have any issues with buying fruits or vegetables. They had the resources to be able to buy them. um, but the problem was is that a lot of the times if they worked, they didn't have the time to cook it, and then it would
mm.
go bad, and so then they're like, it's
Right.
wasted money. Um, and the other question was if it's the same here in the Netherlands, right? Well, it's actually very different here in the Netherlands. I live in a smaller town. The city is a little bit different, but we actually have really small refrigerators. We have, I don't know if you can visualize the college size refrigerators, those really small ones. That's what I have in my house. So I buy every 2 days, every 2 or 3 days. So I buy for two dinners. The typical breakfast here is bread and peanut butter and chocolate, or like a type of Nutella, or it's bread with cheese on top. Um, Not that much warm foods, not that many warm foods. And lunch is usually about the same, so like a cheese sandwich kind of thing. So the dinner is a big deal, and I don't see it being an issue to be able to buy fresh fruits and vegetables. We have markets, we have really good stores here, so it's not like I can say like, oh, I can't, it's not attainable. So if I go to the grocery store for two dinners, I think I spent maybe like 20 euros. So I
Mm.
want to say like, I don't know, 18, $19, something like that. So it's not that expensive to feed four people for two dinners. So that's not actually not that bad.
No.
And that's about as much as I could spend in LA if I was going to buy a meal for the family. I could spend about the same or maybe even less than what you buy at a McDonald's or at any other fast food restaurant. The only thing though is that the food that they serve is so high in salt and so high in fat that it's addictive.
Yes.
So you crave it. You crave these things. And that's the
Yes.
reason why I tell you that I used to have to drive around it, because if I would see
Yeah.
that big golden M, I would be so tempted. And so I
Right.
just learned to just avoid it. And that was my way of disciplining myself to just not go. And there's nothing wrong with going once in a while, but once you start, it's like you start going more and more and more and more if you don't have control of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of relatives in Italy, and they all have small refrigerators, and
Okay, so you know.
because yeah, I know, and so yeah, they'd go to the market, and of course, there's farms all around in small towns, and I remember I brought my friends there pre-pandemic, 20 maybe 16, and I remember my uncle got some eggs out of the cupboard, not out of the refrigerator. And my friend said, "What do we can't eat those eggs. There's probably going to be chicks in them." I said, "Those were just laid just days ago. They're not months old like we have in the grocery store. They don't need to be refrigerated." Just the whole in the States, we buy big and we have big refrigerators. We keep stuff in. We go every week, and yeah, it's just a very different mentality. Whereas there, you're just kind of rotating, and you eat what is fresh and
Yes.
what's around at that time. It's a very different view. If we can get people to adopt that here, and maybe offer some, you say time is so critical. Some very good healthy options that you can pick up reason in a drive through. They start to see some trends of some salad places now and everything, but that's got to shift. That's
Yeah.
it's got to shift because obesity is just horrible, and the pandemic, we saw so many fatalities with comorbidity with people that are obese, and
Yes. Yes.
just horrible.
And you know what? I'm gonna make two comments. The first one about the
Please.
eggs. That was the funniest thing that when I got here, I was like, I went to the grocery store and I thought, why aren't the eggs in the refrigerator at the
That's
grocery
right.
store? They're on a
That's
shelf,
right.
on a regular shelf. And the first
Right.
time I, the first time I opened a carton of
Carton.
eggs, my eggs had feathers on, on them.
That's how fresh they were. Yeah.
Because they had I guess like a little bit of dirt on them, and then like some feathers got
Sure.
stuck on between the dirt, and I thought
Right.
that's
Right.
strange because I've never
Yeah.
seen my eggs with. But I mean, I understand that
Yes.
it's fresh.
It's
and the
wonderful.
and the other thing is that you're right that something needs to shift, and when I talk to so I told you that I work at the foundation at the Head Start. um and at this Head Start, I started working there again after I left because everyone went remote, right? And so they needed somebody to help out. And well, I mean, if I could do it, why not? Everyone was remote anyway. And as I was helping parents out over the first year of the pandemic, it's so weird to say the first year of the pandemic.
Right.
Um, Over the first year of the pandemic, I started to notice that a lot of the children started to gain weight
Mm.
because I don't know if you know, but in Los Angeles they closed all of the parks, and
Yeah.
they closed
The
everything down,
parks.
so people couldn't go out, and a lot of the children were gaining 10-15 pounds in the span. And technically a child between 3 4 5 years old should only gain about 5 pounds per year, and they were gaining 10-15 pounds from the lack of physical activity.
Mm.
And so that was one of the things. The other thing is, um, you know, we do have areas with healthy choices, but and there you do see them, but it's changing the mindset of the population. You know, do you have to go to McDonald's? Is it something? I'm sorry I use McDonald's because that is the main thing I talk about.
Right. Right.
With my parents, the parents or the moms that I talk to. But it doesn't have to be that specific restaurant. It could be any fast food restaurant, even a Mexican sit down place. They ask me, a lot of the moms ask me, is it okay if I give my child, if I go to like a Mexican restaurant and they eat food there? And I tell them, look, all the restaurants are in the business of making money off of you. So they're going to pack it with fat and salt and sugar as much as they can. And the mom will tell me, well, it's because I pay very little and I get a lot more at a restaurant than if I was to buy it. And I go, yes, but all of those ingredients that you're paying for are of lower quality.
Mm.
They're of lower quality. They are not as healthy. And even if it's like a burrito with beans, rice, and chicken, it's still
Cheese.
cooked cheese. It's still cooked with a lot of fat, sometimes even
Yes.
lard. And so a lot of moms tell me, like, I didn't really realize it. I go, yeah, they're not in the business to keep you healthy. They're in the business to keep you coming back.
Yes.
And so the
Yes.
tastier it is, the more they give you, the more you're going to come back.
That's right.
Right. So yeah, it's shifting that mindset of let's just go back to basics. I also get a lot of moms who ask me, like, are beans healthy? I'm like, of course, they're like the best thing you can
Mm.
have because they have
Yes.
carbs, they have proteins, and if you make them
Protein. Yeah.
yourself, even better. you know
Mm. Absolutely wonderful. So, what can I want to say men, but non-moms, you know, what can we do to help mothers?
it's a good question. I think what you can definitely, like, let's say a fellow mom, or like a husband or a partner, or even any other family members, is support the
Mm.
mom in the decisions that she makes in the home, specifically if they're decisions that are good for the family. Time and time again, I get frustrated moms who tell me, um, I'm trying to cook healthy and I'm trying so hard, and I have salads and I try to do this, but my husband insists that I buy a Coke or Coca-Cola or a soda.
Mm.
Insists that I buy specific things that are not healthy, insists that I have chips in the house. um and so it's really hard for me to implement anything if my husband is not on board. um
Mm.
and I always tell them I always tell them this anecdote that I do at home. I go, look, I have this conversation with my husband years ago before we had kids. I told him, when we eat, when we have dinner, if there is something on the plate that you don't like, you say, it's so tasty, and you don't say anything else. Because even if you don't like it, your reaction is being watched. Your children will watch your reaction. And if you don't like it, your child will not like it. So last I want to say a few
Wow.
weeks ago, I made a lasagna, and my husband hates carrots. Good thing my kids are too small to hear this. My husband
Hmm.
hates carrots. And I was cutting up carrots, and I told him, I'm sorry, but carrots are good for vision, and they're good for the kids, vitamins, minerals, fibers. I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to eat it. And he's like, he comes over quietly. He's like, can you just cut them up really small? I would really appreciate so I don't have to taste them that much. And I said, fine, I'll chop them up even smaller. But he knows, like, if there's something you don't like, you better learn to not make a facial expression and you eat it. And I'm sorry
That's
if you
right.
don't like it, but it's healthy for our child. And so he's really cool though. He's very supportive. He really
Hmm.
just he goes above and beyond, to support me in my ideas of being healthy for the kids and the rules that we have at the table. But yeah, I think the support is really truly what's more important. If there isn't support at home, there's a lot of frustration, and there is a lot of sense of, I'm doing all of this and nothing is happening, nothing is changing. um,
Hmm.
so I think that's what would definitely would help.
Yeah, that's and it's not difficult to do, right?
No.
Have a plan and work together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how it was with your children when they were growing up, but that there is a phase where they are just don't want anything. They're just picky. They just
Right.
like, I don't want that. I don't want this. I don't want that. And you get frustrated at some points, and
Yeah.
you're like, just do it. Just do what I tell you. But that's not the way to do it, of course. But in your
Right.
mind, you just like, just eat it. But
Yeah.
when
In
you have
our
the support.
case, sorry.
Mhm.
Sorry. You go.
No, but when you have the support of the partner, it's easier.
Right. Yeah. In our case, one ate everything and the other ate nothing. Does that ever happen with the kids?
Yes. Yes, that actually is happening to me right now. My first child ate everything for the longest
Me too.
time, and right now she's not eating anything. And my one
Ah,
year old is eating everything. He even reaches over and steals food. So, yeah, it's very common. You will have children who, well, I'm sure you
yeah.
have one child that is one specific way, and then your next child is like completely the opposite, and you're like,
Right.
but we both raised you in the exact same way. What
Same way.
happened?
And what happens when I learned this the hard way, but you have to really watch when you start introducing fruit and, sugar to the child because once they get the taste of that, then they're going to want more.
Yes, yes. So we definitely have rules at home about that. We don't buy a lot of cookies and like chips and things like that. We don't buy them a lot, but when we do buy them, we buy one thing at a time. So either we buy cookies or we buy chips, or we buy candy, but not all of it is always available at home.
I say.
So once it's done for a few days, and then when my husband and I are craving some more, then we'll buy some. But actually, what we started doing this past week, because I bought these little drinks that she really likes. They're these like yogurt, strawberry drinks that she really likes. My little girl. And what I started to do is she started to ask me for it like three, four, 5 times in a day. And I thought, no,
Wow.
this is crazy. I'm not gonna give this to you three, 4 times in a day. Then you're not gonna eat anything. So what I did is in a little calendar, we have a little calendar for her because she's starting to understand that she's going to school and she's going to dance classes and she wants to know when. And every day she asks me, dance less today? And I go, no, not today. So I have a calendar for her, and I told her she can have one drink per day. And so I drew a
Ah.
little, I mean, with my my weird drawings, I drew a little cup with a little strawberry next to it and then a little bubble.
Oh.
And so if she gets her drink for the day, I check it off and then it's it. No more for the rest of the day. So it's been working really good. So
Hmm.
with that, and think in the week, she knows it's been about a week. Now she knows that she gets her drink and she sees a check and it's done. She doesn't get one till the next day. Um, but it's tough. It's so tough because she's
Yeah.
at the first 2 3 days with that specific drink. I think she asked me like every hour. It was driving me crazy. I was like,
Hmm.
no, no. I said no, and I was like, I told you already, no. But yeah, you have to. I definitely we're very cautious, but we don't restrict, because if you do restrict, let's say you completely no candy, no chips, nothing, 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 what happens is that when they do get a hold of it, they binge or they hide.
Mm.
And so that's the other reason why you don't want to go to that extreme. You
Right.
don't want them to start hiding it from you, which has happened once or twice where I see that she grabs something and she's hiding it behind her back, and I tell her, "Hey, what's behind your back?" Nothing. Ah, okay, come on, let me see. And then it's chocolate or something. I said, "You want it?" Yeah. Okay, you can have it. You don't have to hide it. You can ask me and I'll give it to you. Okay. And she's like,
Hmm.
"Okay." And then that's it. And it's diffused. I let her have it. It's fine. I just it's kind of like a way of not letting a child feel that they cannot have this. It makes them want it
Right.
more.
Mm.
So it's just kind of like having that balance with them.
Yeah, and actually kind of earning it. They'll keep asking those. They always test their boundaries, right? And see
Yes.
where they can kind of crack. And so once, oh, I asked 7 times and I got yes. Now I'll try asking six. I mean, they're very smart. The kids are
They
very adaptive.
they are so smart, and they will play you against each other, against your
Absolutely. Yeah.
they're
Absolutely.
very good.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talk a lot about not a lot, but I always bring up discipline, and you've mentioned it more than once. I lost a lot of weight. People ask me how. I always say discipline. So how do you, Blanca? How do you use discipline in your life, and more importantly, how do you instill discipline in these mothers that you're trying to coach?
Good question. So I think the first thing that I think is very important to be able to be disciplined is
Mm,
to create goals, something that you need to reach, right? And so I'll give you an example. When I'm coaching a mom, what is your goal, your biggest goal that you have? And let's say it's losing 20 pounds. Okay, that's your biggest goal. By when do you want to achieve it? Okay, by the end of the year. All right, so now we have your goal and a deadline. Now, that's the biggest. Now, let's make that really big goal into really small goals that you know you can achieve. So, if you
mm,
want to lose those 20 pounds in a year, how many pounds do you need to lose per month? So, one and a half per month. Now, that is a lot more attainable than to say, I want to lose 20 pounds in a month, right?
mm,
So, it's really difficult. Um, or to just say, I want to lose 20 pounds. But you don't have a deadline, you don't have
mm,
smaller goals to break it down. And once you know your big goal, once you know your small goals, then you can create an action plan on how to get to those small goals. And so I always tell moms when I'm coaching them, when you're creating a goal, create a realistic, I'm sorry, not a goal, a plan. When you're creating a plan, create a realistic plan. Don't tell me that you're going to work out 6 days a week, because it is unrealistic for a mother.
mhm,
We could barely sometimes
mhm,
even go to the bathroom. So,
mm,
sometimes I'm waiting all day for my husband to come
mm.
home just so I can go to the bathroom in peace.
Uh,
Otherwise, I have kids in the bathroom with me, or they're knocking on the door. So, if you know that you're not at a place, let's say you have small children, you're not at a place that you can get away that long, what is realistic for you? And so that, I think, is what helps a person be disciplined, because then you really are starting to
hmm,
think, what is it that I can really truly accomplish with my situation right now? Not all moms are the same. Some moms are married with a lot of help from their partner. Some are married with no help from the partner.
mm,
Some are single, and some are in much more difficult situations where financially maybe it's impossible for them to go to a gym because they can't afford it.
mm,
um, they don't have daycare to put their kids in, so they can go for a walk, or to go for a workout or anything like that. So those are the things that I want to say focus on, is what is realistically something that you can do. And I give them my example. I tell them, right now all I can do is work out twice a week for 15 minutes. That is literally all I can put in, because I have
Hmm.
so many other things going on that anything more than that just overwhelms me. So what I do is, on the 2 days that my child does go to school, my older, as I'm dropping her off, I take her in my running stroller. So I run to her little school, and then I run back. That's about 15 minutes, and then I come back sweaty. I shower, and then I just get on my day with the cleaning and everything, and preparing for work and stuff like that. So that is what is
Hmm.
realistic for me right now, um, because my children are small and they're very dependent on me. But not all moms have small kids. Some of them have teenagers, and it's just a totally different dynamic. I don't know how old your kids are, if you've already hit the teenage years, but it's a totally different situation. They may not depend on you to dress them, but now all of a sudden you have to constantly watch them, or constantly help them with homework, constantly interact in a different way. So it's a different dynamic. Um, but I think that is what I think helps the moms, is to see that it's something that they can do. I also tell them, don't starve yourself to lose weight. That is like the
Hmm.
worst thing you can do, as a mom, because you need all the energy that you can get. So we create meal patterns. We create times that are appropriate for them to eat. Not all moms wake up at the same time. So not all moms are going to have lunch at the same time. We have this like idea that breakfast, lunch, and dinner is 8, 12, and 6, or 8, 12, and 5,
Hmm.
but it doesn't work like that for everybody.
Mm-mm.
So we talk a lot about that, and encouragement and support. I think having a support system is absolutely paramount for a mom to succeed in her goals, and however she wants to, whatever she wants to achieve, whether she wants to lose weight, wants to be healthy, wants to earn a degree, anything that she wants to do. She needs to have somebody that's there to say, you can do it, come on, let's go study, go work out, go take care of the things that you need to take care of. So I think a support system is also very important, especially for moms.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you consider yourself a disciplined person yourself, Blanca?
Yes, I think I am. I have my moments where I lose it, because um, we can be disciplined, but sometimes you're just like, oh, today was just not a good day. I didn't
Yeah.
follow through all the way. But yeah, I feel like I'm quite disciplined. I think my biggest achievement was when I paid off my student loans, my $70,000
Hmm.
student loans.
Wow.
That felt so nice, and I did it in 7 years. So I was very proud of
Wow.
myself. Um, but that took a lot of discipline. That took not having a TV at home. That took living in a really, really small space. My husband and I lived in 400 square feet for the longest time
Wow.
with our baby. So,
Wow.
um,
That's
yeah,
a hotel room.
yeah, it is. It literally, yeah, it is. It is. But I mean, it was doable because we had a goal in mind, and we had each other to support each other in that goal of
Hmm.
paying off those student loans. So I think anyone who is disciplined, has to have goals and plans, and has to really like tick off everything that they're have set up for themselves. Whatever goals they set
Hmm.
up, they have to tick the the boxes. But
The
yeah,
box,
but
yeah.
yeah, I also have my days where I'm like totally didn't write my goals for the day. I didn't do anything. I tell my husband, sometimes he comes home and I'm like, yeah, today was a bust. Wasn't a good day today.
Hmm.
I didn't do anything.
Happens to all of us. There's some days where I'm so productive, I can't believe it, and there's some days where I just don't do a thing. I wish what I don't know. Is it the moon? I don't know what I don't know what it is. Is it what I ate? Is it what I didn't do? Is it sleep? I don't know. But I if I can nail that down, I may have the secret for everybody. And if I do understand what it is, I promise to share it. Uh, what motivates you, Blanca Garcia?
um well, I think uh I've always been a hard worker. I've always
Hmm.
wanted to have my I've always been fiercely independent. Since I was 12 years old, I was always hustling it. I was always finding ways to make money.
Hmm.
Um, so I would babysit my mom's friends' kids. I would sell chocolates, wherever I could. It was really cute. Now that I remember, my mom lent me 14 as a 14 or $15 so I could go to Sam's Club and buy a box of 36 chocolates. And then I went and I sold those 36 chocolates. I gave her her money back. The money I had left over, I went and I bought another box. And then all of that profit I put in, I bought two more boxes. And then like, I just, that's kind of like, I kept it
Wow.
going. And I was like 12, 13 years old. So I've always been a hustler, and I've always
Wow.
strived to do more. I never wanted to be
Mm.
rich. I'm not rich, but I just felt like I just wanted to be independent. I want to be
Hmm.
yeah, and not depend on anyone, and I just wanted to do my own thing. When I was and I know where I got this from, because when I was 12 years old, my dad is Mexican. My dad got deported, and so my mom was left without the support from the home, the financial support. And so for
Wow.
several years, we really struggled financially. And I told myself, I'm never, ever, ever depending on anyone. And it's just kind of like it was like a switch. And I've been, and at first, I thought, I'm never going to depend on a man, and, a little bit more
Mm,
like
mm,
I'm my own
mm, mm.
person kind of thing.
Independence. Yeah.
But as I got older, I became a little bit more trusting, and now, of course, I'm here in the Netherlands with my
Mm.
husband, but he still sees the fierce independence in me, and he's like, if you don't work, we're okay financially. Like, you don't
Right.
have to work. And I'm like, no, I have to work. Like, I love
Yeah.
working. It means that I have a little extra money. So, like, if I want to buy earrings, I don't have to ask you for for money.
Mm.
But I think it's just that need to be independent, and to yeah, provide for myself. It's a source of pride, and I want my girl and my boy, I want them to also be independent, and to feel prideful that that they made their way through life on their own, and with their hard work, and their heart, and their work ethic. So yeah, I think that is where that comes from.
Fantastic, Blanca. Thank you so much for your time today. How wonderful to talk to you. Can you tell us how we can get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I actually have an Instagram. It's Blanca Nutritionist for Moms. You can also find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group. It's called
Yes.
Nutrition Community for Moms. It's a group just for moms where they can ask nutrition questions and they can feel safe. You can also, if you
Wonderful.
have any questions, you can also find me at my email, garcia.blancac@gmail.com. But yeah, and in any of those ways, you could definitely reach me. Thank
And
you
your
so much for
website,
having me.
Blanca.
Oh,
Yeah, thank
yes.
you. Your
Yes, my website, the
Blanca
most
Dash.
important.
Yes. Yes.
www.blanca-garcia.com. And I actually
That's
have a few
right.
articles there that I've written in the last several years. Yeah, I totally forgot. Thank you for
Yeah, it's
having
a great
me.
website. Yeah, it
Oh,
was
thank
wonderful
you.
talking to you, and I hope one day to get out there. The Netherlands, my favorite, national soccer team, other than Italy, is Holland, the
Oh,
orange,
okay.
and if I get there, perhaps we can all have a cup of coffee together once this pandemic is over.
Yes, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to have you. We live in Noordwijk, so it's a nice
Ah,
little beach tourist town. So if you were to come here, or I could go to Amsterdam, we'd be happy to have you coffee with you, and or have you over at our house, and you would love it here. It's absolutely lovely.
I can't wait. Thank you so much for your time. You
Thank
be
you.
well, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Same to you.
Bye
Bye
now.
bye.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations.